A staggering number of Hoosiers have died in house fires already in 2023. Tonight, the fire marshal addresses what is becoming a big concern. Welcome inside. It's 10 o'clock here on a Friday night. Good to have you with us. We got a full crowd tonight.
Yes, we do.
Full table.
Friend of the show, Rachel Krause, is joining Angela and Felicia and I. Pacers won tonight, which is fantastic news. We're excited about that. What's with this Chinese spy balloon? Oh. And we've got another Chinese balloon over Latin America. We'll get into that tonight. And we got to talk about the weather, don't we, Felicia?
Yes, we do, because we took a deep dive in temperatures today.
Horrible.
But we're going to boomerang back up, right?
We are. 40s for the weekend and 50s in the 7-day.
Nice.
I know. You're happy. I
You know it.
Yes. The very first full week of February is going to be unseasonably mild. We should be in the mid-30s. We're going to be about 20 warmer than that for several days next week. Right now, it is cold. So if you're just headed out this evening or you have plans early on Saturday, be prepared. Temperatures are in the teens under mainly clear skies. We're at 18 in Indianapolis, 13 in Lafayette. It's 12 in Kokomo, and we'll be in the teens to kick off our Saturday. Sunshine, 32 midday, a few clouds tomorrow afternoon, 41. It is going to be a breezy day, in fact, a breezy weekend, but that will be a south wind that helps bring those temperatures into the 40s. Low 40s tomorrow, upper 40s on Sunday. We'll near 50 Monday, and then several days in the 50s next week.
How about that, Felicia? 50s in February?
You won't be shivering.
I know.
I mean, I will be.
I look
You
forward
will
to
be
it.
anyway.
Yes, absolutely. But I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I'll be standing by to see what wind chills look like.
No wind chills. No, we won't be talking wind chills at all next
That's
week.
awesome.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, did we mention that IU and Purdue are playing basketball tomorrow night? It's
That's
great. It's an
big.
afternoon
That's big.
game, 4 o'clock tip at Assembly Hall. Let us know in the comment section who you are pulling for, Boilermakers or Hoosiers. Let us know. And let's go ahead and talk about our big story tonight that we're going to cover at 11 o'clock, the staggering number of fatal fire deaths across the state of Indiana. Rachel's got that story for us.
Yeah, so it's been a very staggering number. As you mentioned, we've had 20 people die just in the first 5 weeks of 2023 from fatal house fires. And that number might not seem like a lot, but when you put that in comparison to last year, for example, 2022, there were 71 deaths for the entire year. And we are already coming up on that at 20 so far, just in 2023. We got the chance to speak to the state fire marshal about that today. He said this is a really dangerous trend, a really concerning trend, and something that really is heartbreaking to see. He's spending every single weekend out on the scenes of these fatal fires, talking to the families, trying to piece together what happened.
Right.
He said it just is absolutely devastating to see the destruction, and a lot of this is fairly preventable, not in all cases, of course, but smoke alarms. A lot of the houses that are having these fatal fire deaths, it's coming down to smoke alarms and whether or not they had a working smoke alarm in the house. They say that can make such an absolute difference, especially, you know, it's January, it's cold. They expect fires to pop up from the way people are heating their homes and just trying to stay warm, but, you know, it can be absolutely a concern.
And you've got a little bit of your interview that you wanted to share tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we got to sit down with the state fire marshal, and again, he says, you know, January, your furnace is working overtime.
Everything inside your house works harder at night during the winter time. When it gets cold, the furnaces are constantly running. Families bring in space heaters to try to keep rooms warm. And so in doing that is you got to make for sure your furnaces are serviced. Change your air filter so they don't have to work as hard. Space heaters is to keep things away from space heaters. Everything should be 3 feet away from a space heater and only have it running when you're there and monitor that. Those things are really important because your house, all this equipment is working harder during the winter time.
And when it comes to smoke alarms, you know, the state fire marshal says that if you don't have one, reach out to your local fire department or to the fire marshal's office. They'll do their absolute best to connect you with a smoke alarm. Now, if you aren't physically able to get up to put it up, give your fire department a call. He says they're happy to help and bring out a ladder and make sure that you're able to be safe and protected. If you can't afford to buy one, he says contact his office. They want to make sure that they are doing their part to keep people safe. He says, you know, that's the best thing they can do is prevent something like this from happening.
Yeah. It's good that they're talking about it. I think it's one of those things that clearly you don't think about it until it's too late.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that he mentioned that really struck with me was that, you know, we talk about the number 20, and 20 may not seem like a lot, but those were 20 people 20 lives lost.
right.
And just really heartbreaking to see the damage out there for folks, especially when there's stuff and steps you can do to really prevent it.
Right.
And those go bad after 10 years. We had a friend helping us with
Oh, wow.
something.
Yep.
Yes, and I had no idea. And he was like, you really need to replace these. And so we ended up replacing all of them in our home. And I had no idea they go bad after 10 years.
Right.
So if you've been living in your home 10 years, it might be time to think, okay, let's upgrade these. Let's replace these.
Wow.
Even
Did
if you
Yeah.
think they're still working, the lights on, whatever, they do go bad after a certain amount of time.
Were you able to do it yourself, or did you need to call someone
I had
to
help.
replace? Okay.
I had help. You know, just
Yeah, a
I guess I
handyman or
wanted to make
something.
sure it was done properly, and
Right.
I'm not good at stuff like that. And I'm
Right.
going to call my husband out. He's not either.
Yeah. So one of the things I think that we want you to do this weekend is to examine your home's smoke detectors. Are the batteries good? Is it working? If it's hardwired, test it. If you don't have one, go get one. Or as Rachel mentioned, call your fire department, get one. They're typically free. They can come out and help you install it, but do that this weekend and check that list off the list. All right, what about this Chinese balloon that we think may be a spy balloon? That's what the Pentagon is thinking, floating over Montana, now over Missouri. And tonight, late tonight, the Pentagon confirms a second Chinese spy balloon is flying over Latin America. Here's a little bit of what we've seen today about this balloon.
This thing is up in the sky.
A strange sight high in the sky, setting off alarm bells about potential Chinese surveillance, and now scuttling Secretary of State Antony Blinken's planned trip to China just before he was set to leave.
What this has done is created the conditions that undermine the purpose of the trip.
Chinese officials saying they regret what they're calling a civilian weather balloon crossed into U.S. airspace. The Pentagon isn't buying that.
We know that it's a surveillance balloon, and we do know that the balloon has violated U.S. airspace and international law.
The Defense Department's press secretary saying the balloon isn't just floating, it has the ability to maneuver and is flying at about 60,000 feet, well above civilian air traffic. Witnesses first spotted it above Billings, Montana, and it's now moving eastward across the middle of the country.
Right now, we assess that there is no threat, physical threat or military threat to people on the ground, so we're continuing to monitor.
White House officials telling NBC News they took action to make it very difficult for the Chinese to learn anything significant. The Defense Department noting that while it's assessing its options, shooting the balloon down could cause damage or injuries to people on the ground. But many Republican lawmakers are accusing the Biden administration of not doing enough.
We can't simply allow this thing to continue transiting across the United States.
Members of Congress tonight now asking for a full intelligence briefing with questions left up in the air along with that balloon that Americans may be able to see for themselves. So I was watching CNN and they were doing a weather tracker, if you will, with this balloon looking at the United States and where it may go after it passes Missouri. And it looked like it sort of went over the southwestern part of Indiana. So at this point, the big question is, what do you do with this? And there's a lot of talk tonight, including former Vice President Mike Pence, who says, shoot it down. Shoot it down. It is over U.S. airspace. China has no business flying over U.S. airspace. Let's find out what is in this weather balloon. Don't let it get out of U.S. airspace. You got to find out what's on board, what are they knowing about
Well,
it.
and how can we even figure out how large it is? Because it's, I mean, I guess I don't know how high military jets go, but
CNN
you know,
reported it was the size of 3 school buses.
oh my heavens.
That's how big it is.
I was going to say, I was literally about to say that because we have to get out of our idea that this
It's a
is just
balloon?
something we can go up and like pop real
Right.
quick or just send something. And so the size of 3 school buses, I'm wondering if there is a way to puncture it so that it can come lower so that we can have a better idea of where this thing could possibly land.
Right.
So that's one of their concerns
Right, yeah.
is if they pop it, where does the debris go? Size of 3 school buses, depending on where it falls, that could hurt several hundred people.
Could we do it over the Atlantic once it gets
Well,
over
that
the
may
ocean?
be that may
might
be
not be our
exactly what's
airspace.
happening.
Oh, it's not our airspace
Yeah.
then. Oh.
Yeah, there was some talk about why we didn't
know if
take
that
care of
stopped
this
us
over
before.
Montana. There was some talk why we didn't take care of, shooting this thing down, and we're bringing it down over Montana, which is not a populated
Yeah,
state.
famously rural.
But as it moves, toward the East Coast, the South, wherever it is heading, you're going to have a lot more people, and it's a
Yeah.
little bit more dangerous there to bring down a balloon the size
Yeah.
of 3
Three
school
school
buses.
buses. I had no idea.
In the NBC article that I read, they mentioned that in Montana, that's actually where we keep some of our nuclear
Right.
missiles. So
Right.
that was another thought process
Yeah.
in terms of it floating
No.
over.
Yeah, China, of course, is saying, look, this is something that we do basically for weather. We look at weather, and it got away from us, and the Pentagon's just not believing that. They think that China's up to something, and that
Yeah.
they're looking at things and places that are sensitive and have, defense secrets and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So I
we
think
weren't
that's
born yesterday, China.
yeah, so I think that's why a lot of people want to see what is on this and what it may be gathering and what it's been transmitting, and so this can be a story to follow for sure throughout the weekend.
Don't you think if it is that the Chinese have some way to disarm it or disable it before it gets to a point where we would have the ability to see what's in it?
Which is a concern that goes into the concern
Sure.
of how do we bring it down? What's going to happen if we do
Bring it
do
down.
something with that?
And is it considered then a sign of aggression
Yeah.
on our part?
Right. All right, so here's what, let's see, Kirk mentions there are 2 balloons, and Kirk, we did mention, maybe before you joined us, that there is a second balloon, the Pentagon reporting over Latin America. Linda says missile launcher should have been to bring it down immediately. Renita says, I agree, shoot it down. Let's see.
It's pretty disrespectful. Like I do want people to be safe. Don't get me wrong. Don't just do it all willy nilly. But I think it needs to be brought down. I think it needs to be a clear message that we're America. We're not
Yeah.
doing that.
I do have another
You don't do that
question.
over here.
Right.
How did we
odd.
find out that it was here? Was it because I know there's a name attached to a video that I assume has been shared over and over again. And I mean, was it a civilian that found it
I'm not
first?
sure if it was a civilian. Did it show up on radar, and then federal officials were able to spot it that way? Don't
Or
know,
is it-
but we're seeing lots of pictures of it, of course, now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, is it that big where you can just see it?
Right.
I don't know. The federal government is working with NASA, though, working with NASA to figure out how and where this would fall, how it could fall, and what
Right.
our options are.
Yeah, because if you think about it, most of our airliners fly at 36,000 feet, give or take.
Right.
Over the ocean, you may be closer to 40, but this is at 60,000 feet, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Quick prediction, IU Purdue. Rachel, you want to go first?
Sure, I'll say Purdue.
Purdue, number 1 in the
Yay.
nation, saying Purdue. Felicia?
Yeah. Well, we got to say Purdue because our producer is with Purdue. So.
Truly.
Okay. So you're saying Purdue. I know what you're saying.
I am saying Purdue, even though
Okay.
I'm wearing red today. It was Go Red for Women today.
Right, right.
But I'll be wearing my Purdue sweatshirt tomorrow.
I think Purdue right now is the better team, but I'm going to say IU wins tomorrow night.
At home.
At home.
Are you saying
And,
that just to be different, Scott?
Well, look, I had 2 kids go to IU. One went to Purdue.
Sure.
I feel like I can cheer for both because I paid for both.
I was going to say, they owe you some money. Those schools owe you
So
something.
I will root for Purdue when they host in
Mackey.
3 weeks
Yeah.
at Mackey. Right.
Okay,
So
yeah.
anyway, good
Fair enough.
game. Either way, definitely want to see a good game. And weather tomorrow?
Weather tomorrow, breezy 42, and then we'll be breezy 48 on Sunday, 50s next week.
Felicia, you got to be happy about it.
I am. Bring it on. I'm going to be outside in my hot
There you
pants.
go.
Oh, like the college kids we had today in Franklin in shorts when it was 25.
Good point.
Too
Good
far.
Oh,
And
Yes.
always fun to have friend of the
Yes.
show, Rachel Krause, with us tonight. So it's good to have you with us. We'll
Sure.
see you in your top story tonight at 11. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope to see you over on 13 in about 45 minutes. Good night.